Helpu Hunan, self-help courses to improve your mental well-being. This is session 2 of the Stress Management and Relaxation course. Hello again, and thank you for joining me for this second part of the Stress Management and Relaxation course. So in this section of the course we're going to be looking at how to lower our general stress levels. To do that, there's lots of different ways, but in Havel we're quite holistic, so we look at all the areas of your life and how to minimise stress. And one of the ways we look at that is something called the 5 ways of well-being. 5 very simple things that you can do each day to maintain your mental well-being. And hopefully, if we were to do all of that, we're going to bring down our general stress level. And if we do bring our general stress level down, it can make us less reactive to stresses in our lives. Okay, so just again listen in, take in as much as you can, and if you do want to make any notes, that's great. Feel free to dip in and out as and when you want to. Okay, enjoy. So now I want you to start thinking about your stress in terms of the level of stress on a scale of 0 to 10. And you can imagine this a bit like a thermometer, where right at the top it's you've got extreme stress and then none at all at the bottom. Everybody in the world has got some level of stress, so I wouldn't expect anybody to have a 0 on here. Okay, but what we're doing here is we're trying to just rate that level of stress on the scale, and for all of us it's going to be obviously changing over time. It's going to be up and down depending on what's going on in our lives, and sometimes we have a large amount of things happen that sort of bring the stress up and up and up, and then what can unfortunately happen then is it can take you over a kind of tipping point. So it might be the smallest little thing that triggers you to get very anxious at the end, but actually it isn't just that one thing, it's the build-up of stress that has led to it. So that's why it can be really useful to try and pinpoint the stress level going up at an earlier time, so you catch it sooner to stop the stress going over that threshold. And here is where I'll explain it to you. Okay, so on that scale of 0 to 10, everybody has that threshold. So it might be an 8 or a 9, and anything above that is when you tend to go into a panic or an anxiety or you get angry. But it's really at that point where you just do not, you can't really see the reason, and it's quite hard to come down from that point. Okay, so then if you think about your day-to-day stress, say your stress is on here, it's about a 7. So things happen, that line goes up and down over time depending how stressed you are. And you can see there on a couple of occasions, a couple of events have happened to send that stress up. And what it's done, it's made that person go into that sort of danger zone. So if you then take the line below that, okay, so if we can make your stress much lower, say try and make your stress at about a 3 or something, your stress level is still going to go up by the same amount. As you can see there, it's gone up by just the same amount, but the main difference is if you start off with a baseline of a lower stress level, it is going to be harder then for you to be sent over that threshold for coping. So now what we aim to do, as you can see a bit closer there, is we want to try and bring your background level of stress down. So rather than it being up at a 7 and making it very easy for you to get triggered into that anxiety, see if we can bring that day-to-day stress level down. And there's lots of different ways we can do that, but like we said, if you can bring that stress level down, there's going to be less risk of you going into that kind of overwhelming stress up in that danger zone. So that leads us now to the next question of how can we actually bring that level of stress down to make our day-to-day stress more manageable. There's no easy answers to this, and it is very much different for everybody. But this can give us some clues. So in our work, as I say, Havel are quite holistic. So we look at all the areas of your life, and you can make changes in lots of those areas of your life to actually lower the stress level. As you can see here, the 5 coloured bubbles are the 5 ways of well-being. So the 5 ways of well-being is taken from a Department of Health guidance of the 5 things you can do each day to keep yourself well. It's the mental health equivalent of the 5 fruit or veg a day you need to keep you healthy. So this is a really easy way to think about how to maintain your own well-being and how to reduce that background stress level. So we can think about those 5 areas as connect, first of all. So connect is really important. It's about keeping up that social network with your family, your friends, anybody around you who supports you, makes you laugh, or just basically keeps you supported in any way. So that's probably one of the most important ones. Then there's keep learning, which is all about our mental health can improve if we learn new things each day. This doesn't mean anything, it doesn't have to be like a structured course or anything. It doesn't have to be any formal teaching. It can simply be from perhaps reading the news or a magazine or a book. It could be watching television documentaries, talking to people and learning new things and new skills from others. It might be practical learning how to do different craft or DIY. There's many things you can do to learn new things, and that can often just really increase your self-confidence, and you can get some enjoyment from the things that you do as well. The next one in the green bubble is about being active. Another really important one. We know that there's a link between our physical activity and our mood. Any kind of physical activity is actually going to release endorphins, which are the feel-good hormones in our body. And when we do that, it just makes us feel more positive. It improves our physical health as well as our mental health. That doesn't mean need to be anything structured like going to a gym every day or anything like that. It can be really simple, small changes you can make, even if it means just doing a little bit more work around the house, some hoovering, some housework, anything that gets you up and about and more active than normal. I would say definitely being outside, going for a walk is a really good way of getting your exercise in, and I always recommend trying to do that. The next one of the 5 ways is give, which means helping and showing kindness to others. And we can do that in many ways. It could be little gestures and making somebody a cup of tea, or sending someone a message, or giving them a call to see how they're doing, and really listening to people. So giving some time and support. It doesn't have to be giving presents or money, but it can be. But it's really just setting limits, but giving to others to make yourself feel more confident as well, and give you that really feel-good factor when you do that. I always tell people a word of caution. If you are going to start showing more kindness and helping for others, you do need to be sure that as much as you give and help other people, that you put some energy into helping yourself as well. And that's really important. Some people give probably too much of their time and energy, and they're left depleted. So it really does have to be a balance here. So the fifth one of those coloured bubbles there is take notice. Take notice means practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is simply a way of keeping your mind in the present moment. Quite often in life we go along doing things kind of on autopilot, not really noticing all the things around us, all the senses. So when we try and practice mindfulness, you can do any activities that you would normally do in a mindful way, whether that's taking a shower or eating, any activities at all you do, you can be mindful about it. And that simply means really taking notice of what you're doing. So you have 5 senses in the body. So you've got the sense of sight, sense of smell, touch, hearing, and taste. So what you can do is you can try and be aware of all of those 5 senses in whatever activities you're doing. So for example, if you were having a wash, if you're having a shower, you could notice the sound of the shower. You could notice any other sounds around you. And then you could notice the sights. So you might notice, the water droplets on your skin. You might notice the steam on the windows. Touch, so you can be aware of the touch of the water over your skin. Smell, so you can smell perhaps some of the soap that you're using or any other smells around you. Taste, it doesn't mean that you have to be actually eating something at the time. You can actually just be aware if there's any lingering tastes inside of your mouth. So those are the 5 senses. So what you can do is just try and bring yourself to those 5 senses in anything that you're doing. You can use it as a mindfulness exercise when you're walking. So what I'd encourage you to do is you can combine a lot of these 5 areas together. So for instance, you could go out for a walk, and that's being active. Whilst on that walk, you can take notice of everything around you. The birds singing, the trees, the breeze in the trees, anything else around you that you notice. So that's just one example of what you can do to bring some of those areas together. And obviously a lot of them do come together, but I'd just try and keep those 5 things in your mind. And if you can, try to put at least one of those things in each day. If you can, you're going to try and get all 5 things in every day, just like you would have your 5 portions of fruit or veg. If you can manage to get all 5 of those things each day, then you're well onto a winner to try and improve your mental health and to decrease your stress level. So alongside all of that, it's really important to maintain your own physical well-being. So there are lots of lifestyle changes that you can make to lower your background level of stress. I'd really recommend that you balance your activities. So I see people that sometimes do lots and lots of things on one day, then they get very tired, and the next day they do very little. What I always encourage you to do is to try and space out those activities. So on a day perhaps that you feel good and you want to achieve lots and lots, that's great, but try to rein it in just that little bit. And then if you have a day that you're feeling a little bit lower, and you don't have so much energy, try and give yourself a push to do a little bit more than you would do normally. In that way, you're going to actually level out that big swing up and down and make it more balanced. So other things you can do is look after your diet. Healthy eating is really important. Again, there's a link to what you eat and your mood. So try and get as much fresh fruit and veg as you can to give you lots of vitamins and minerals. Make sure that you've got a good range of different elements in your diet, your protein, vitamins and minerals, your carbohydrates and your fats, and just moderate amount of sugar, which you're trying to minimize. So it's, just a general healthy eating. And if you did want to get any more support with healthy eating, again, there is another healthy eating course in the Helpu Hunan range that you could ask a support worker to look through with you. I'd say sleep is another important one. People often struggle with sleep if they're getting very anxious. Try to have a regular sleep pattern if you can. Try and avoid sleeping during the day if possible. So try and have a good routine of going to bed as well. Do relaxing things before you go to bed each night. Caffeine, so as well as what you eat, what you drink is important. So have plenty of water. Fruit juices and squash is fine. Try to reduce as much caffeine as possible. So we're not saying you have to cut out caffeine completely, but there is a link to if you're drinking a lot of caffeine in tea, coffee, fizzy drinks or energy drinks in particular, then it can actually lead to more anxiety and stress for you. So I definitely recommend try to reduce that a little bit, and perhaps swap some of those drinks for a decaf alternative, but don't stop all caffeine straight away. You've got to do it at a very slow, gentle way to avoid any come down from the caffeine. The next ones on here are, and this comes in with balancing your activities as well, and what we say about giving to others. It's also important to be assertive with others. So being assertive is really important because it can actually help you to feel more in control of you. You can actually learn to say no to things. So if you learn to say no without feeling guilty about it, it can again make you feel more in control and more in a balanced way with your activity levels. It'll improve your confidence as well if you can be assertive with others. The only other things here are about doing activities that you enjoy. Getting pleasure out of life is the most important thing. It really is. So each day, if you can try and find things that you enjoy, maybe there are things that you used to do as a hobby that you've not been doing recently. Maybe you can try and slowly build up doing those things again to try and get some more enjoyment from life. Keeping active, as we've said, is important. And then the last one on here, last but not least, because it's very important, is learning ways to relax. And that's definitely what we're going to be coming on to talk about in the next session. Phew, so we've covered quite a lot so far. I hope you've found that useful, discussing all about thresholds for coping and ways to lower that background stress for you, and talking about some of the easy sort of lifestyle changes you can make to try and help you to manage any stress a little bit better. The next session we're going to go on to is all about relaxation. So I'm going to talk you through some actual relaxation exercises and talk about how you can use that in your day-to-day life. So I hope you can join me for the next one. Thank you for sticking with me this far, and I'll see you at the next session. Bye.